friend, welcome back to another Sunday Stitches. I hope you've grabbed a warm cup of tea and your coziest slippers because I have a fun project for us today. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're actually going to be working on fabric collage, and I'm actually going to be fabric collaging some mushrooms. So this is one of the ones I made last night, and this is the one we're going to be making today. So if you're ready to start stitching, grab your coziest, comfiest sweater or blanket, your cozy slippers, a nice cup of coffee or tea, and let's start stitching. So when I'm working on fabric collage projects, usually there are 3 overarching steps to getting this project done, and we won't be able to tackle all 3 of them today. We're going to do one of the fun ones today. So the first step is prepping, and I did all of that last night so that today we could just have fun assembling and playing with fabric. The second step is assembly, which is what we're going to be doing today. And the final step is embellishment, which is one of my favorite techniques. I'm sure that shocks you. If you've been here before for one of the Sunday Stitches, you know that I love embroidery. You know that I love adding details. And so I will be doing that stage in a separate video because at some point these projects do take a hot minute and we don't want to burn out. We want to make sure that we're rested and giving our embellishments our full attention. So today we're going to be working through 2 stages, and I wanted to have one already made up so you can see where we're headed with this project, but we are going to be doing our background. So you can see on here that we're going to be doing background prep, and we're going to be making our little mushroom. Now, I am making mushrooms. You can make whatever you want, by all means. If you have laundry to fold, that's great. If you're food prepping for the week, I love that too. If you're just working and I'm on in the background, hey, what's up? I'm working on mushrooms because I need to make some new art for a local art gallery where I teach classes and I show my work, and I want to have something fresh for the new year. So, and I know that they love mushroom motifs over there, and I like making nature inspired artwork. So I'm going to be making a couple of pieces for that are mushroom themed. They're going to be mounted, so these won't be traditionally bound. My goal, and we'll see if it works, is going to actually have these mounted into cute little frames. So I'm going to actually inset them into these wooden frames so that they can hang. So we're not going to have a traditional square shape for our frame. We're actually going to be working kind of in a circle today. I'll show you what that looks like. And I've made one just so that I could kind of get into the mojo and see what supplies I needed to prep so that we were ready to go for today. But today, the one that we're going to be starting with is this cute mushroom. So let's dive right in and get started. Okay, so let's talk through our supplies for a second because I pre-prepped our whole project yesterday so that we could just dive right in. The first thing I want to show you is that I have our mushroom template. Now, we are going to be filling in the outline of our mushroom here, and I've actually outlined it on both sides so that I can cut it out. So we don't have to worry about our fabric being perfectly in alignment with our mushroom. We're just going to fill it in. And I'm actually not doing a super traditional fabric collage technique. I am just going to be doing a loose technique where we are just going to be cutting shapes and putting them into the space. Generally, when I'm working on fabric collage projects, I like loose interpretations. I like playing with the fabric. I like cutting as I go and seeing what's going to look nice. And if I were going to be, say, creating this fabric collage for a quilt that needed to be a portrait or a pet portrait or something very, very, very precise, I would make a set template. This is a very loose template. We're just going to be filling it in, but theoretically I could make templates with these exact shapes and cut our fabric colors out of them very precisely. But I don't want to do that today. I want to have some fun with you today. So I'm going to be cutting loose shapes and having fun with it. If you want to learn a more precise technique for creating a template and cutting out your fabric shapes to be exactly the way that you want them for your fabric collage, you can check out my class on Skillshare. I walk you through the whole process of fabric collage and how to make an exact template for what you want to create. But sometimes I just like playing with fabric, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So let me show you the pieces that I've prepped so that you get an idea of where we're headed. Okay, so we have our base material. This is just a basic muslin, and I've got my shape so I have an idea of where my fabric needs to be placed, and I have a general guideline. And then I have all of these colors here. So my mushroom is going to be these more saturated colors. I'm going to be filling those in. I would love for the dots on our mushroom. I think I'm going to try to fussy cut some of these flowers to place on top, and I needed them to be a little bit lighter because we're going to be placing them onto relatively darker tones. I had this piece had some larger flowers, but I think they're going to be too big a scale. I didn't know if I could maybe use some of these smaller ones, but these are all just scrap pieces, or I had a few charm packs and I had some extra strip fabric left over. So I'm just using scraps of what I had. I basically, yesterday when I was planning, I made sure to color organize. So I got darker tones together, and then I had all of these scraps, and believe it or not, I had these little 1-inch. At some point I was like, yep, I'm going to be making a stamp quilt. This will be a great idea. And then I never made it. And I don't even know if I was going to really make a stamp quilt because these are a little bit too small even for a stamp quilt because between the seams. But I was like, I'm going to collage these together. Well, today we're actually finally doing it. So our base fabric is actually going to be made up of these lighter colors. I'm going to be running these really, really light squares through the background. And then at the base where, say, moss or the ground would be, we're going to be using these mintier colors that are just a little bit darker. To give you, I'll show you my previous example so you can see what that looks like. So for this darker pinky peachy mushroom, I did the same thing. We have our lighter tan squares running through the base, and then we have a darker, deeper background for where the mushroom is going to wind up sitting in space. So I wanted to make sure that there was enough contrast between the mushroom head and the background. And then I wanted to make sure the base was just a little bit darker so that it kind of builds some depth. This one I wanted to make a little bit more stripey, so we have some stripes happening. I'm going to wind up offsetting these with even more embellishment, but that's going to be a whole other video. So don't worry, I am going to cover that. Just that's going to be a separate day. But for today, we're going to be building up our background for this bluey green mushroom using these softer bluey gray tones, these mossy colors for the base, and our mushroom mane is going to be made up of these colors with potentially a few extra details. So to get started, normally I would say start with your base fabric and work up, but I really, really, really want to make sure that our mushroom is going to pop against our base fabric. So we're going to build up our mushroom first. And generally I would say, oh yeah, you're going to want to make one big base piece of fabric, and then we're just going to put our dots on top, but we're not doing that today. We are having fun today. So you're going to want a good pair of scissors. I have pre-prepped on the backs of these pieces of fabric our heat and bond. I'll grab that so you can see what it looks like. It's fusible web. So I'm using just a roll pack of heat and bond ultra hold, and actually this is permanent, but you could also do a lightweight because we're going to wind up sewing all of this down. If you didn't want to sew it down, definitely get the permanent ultra hold. I tend to flex in my projects whether or not I want ultra hold or not. And I did a really light fuse, so you might see some of the fusible web is even starting to pop up, but we're going to be fusing it again, and I'm going to be stitching it all down in a separate video. We won't be stitching it today, but I will be fusing it down to this so that when we're all done, we have a full mushroom shape that's not really going anywhere until we stitch it. So you might see me pulling off the sticker background from time to time because I haven't pre-cut all of these out. But yeah, we're gonna get started. And I pulled a few different values here. So we have kind of some medium light values, and I have some darker values. And my goal for this project is actually going to be, when I'm building this base out, I want my darker colors, and this is almost a medium value. It's reading medium with the lighter greens in it. I want my darker values toward the edge, on the edges, and then I want some of my medium and lighter values kind of toward the center. We likely won't need all of these pieces, but we're gonna kind of play around. We're gonna make little soft curves and squiggles until we fill in the space. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it one more time. We're going to wind up cutting out this mushroom the same way we did this. And because we aren't going to worry about whether our pieces are fitting exactly into our mushroom, on the back side, I traced it as well so that I'll be able to see where I need to cut out, if I need to cut out, and it'll give me a good reminder because we're going to be covering up these circles. So it'll give me a good reminder of where I kind of wanted to place some of these extra little floral hearts as we go, or floral dots, floral hearts. So can you tell I'm in Valentine mode? It is late January and we are starting to get ready for Valentine's Day. Okay, so I'm just gonna start cutting and we're gonna start working. So I'm gonna heat up my iron as we work. I am using a Cricut mini press, and it just is gonna be a good way for me to kind of press as I go. It's not hot yet, but I'm gonna have it ready just so that when we are ready to to go, we can press things down. And I'm going to be using pins. This was helpful yesterday as I was making this first mushroom, and I'm probably going to be doing it again. I want to be able to move things around, so I'm going to be using my pins in case I want to move something around. So if you see me grabbing for pins, I'm grabbing those. Now, the other thing is I'm using like a multi-purpose, very sharp scissor. Please don't cut yourselves. That would make me really sad, but I'm using this because the paper, I don't want to jam up my fabric scissors. So I kind of consider this almost like a paper weight. So if you don't want your good fabric scissors to dull, maybe grab a sharper or a designated pair that you use for your fusible web. Okay, so I'm just gonna start cutting curves. Sometimes I look at the fabric pattern to see if there's something I wanna follow, but for this, I think we're gonna just kind of start. I wanna kind of start on the outside and we're gonna kind of move toward the center. I'm not gonna worry about our little stem yet. We're gonna just start filling in the main space of our shape. Let's see, so if we kind of wanna round to the top, and this is loose cutting. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's gonna be okay. It's definitely wide. That's fine. No big deal. And I don't want the whole thing. I just want part of it. We can use these other pieces in other spaces, but we're probably gonna wind up putting this somewhere near here, and I can trim this up. No big deal. So, and it can kind of go over the edge. It's not a big deal because we're gonna be cutting it out after anyway. If you're having trouble getting your fusible web paper to release, just use a pin to score it, and then it'll start popping out. Okay, and this won't stick. This is not like our stick and stitch stickers. This isn't sticky. It's just a layer of glue. You can kind of see it shine. It's not going to activate until I hit it with the iron. So we're going to kind of set that down. I'm going to use a pin just to kind of hold it in place. The other thing I didn't mention is this gray pad. This is my Cricut. It's a press pad. So I'll be able to use it as an ironing pad. I'm building right on my ironing board, if you will. And because it has fluff in it, I can use it as a pin cushion to hold my pins in place without me having to do a ton of extra work, which I appreciate. The reason why I'm not building this from a set template is because I tend to get impatient. Sometimes I just want to play. And my weekend projects, I think, are fun, and I just want to kind of play with them and enjoy, you know, building out these shapes. So here I can see, I kind of want it to be down to about here. We're going to kind of roll out. Yeah, we kind of like that. And this is probably going to be a little too big, but we can always trim it down later. I like having a lot of good texture. I want this rounded. I don't really like harsh edges. I kind of like everything kind of melting together when I'm collaging. So we're gonna just kind of round that in. And if it's a little off, that's okay. This is why we don't immediately iron down. We're gonna just inch this a bit. Here we go. Until things feel a bit smoother, we're gonna pin that in here. And actually, before I pin this, I gotta take off don't forget to take off your backing. That's one of the things I forget. As an artist, I like to play. Sometimes we really do need set patterns if we're working for competitions. But because this is going to an art gallery, I really want to feel the artwork. I want to kind of get into that mode. And it's a mushroom, so it doesn't need to have perfect edges. We can also clean it up later. I might add another piece here to kind of blend them in. So these are some of our darker pieces. Let's keep coming around. I think I like this guy. I really like the scallops on this. Super mushroomy. Let's build out this corner a little bit. Let's give this a soft edge here. And even softer. And I'm just gonna kind of loosely cut. I don't want harsh points. We're gonna kind of soften that. And it doesn't need to be super set. I'm gonna trim this off later. I can even come, oh, that's kind of fun and dynamic. That's different. How do we want this to sit? Is that too boring? I feel like that's pretty boring. Okay, my other option is I can, oh, hey, let's pin this guy down. There we go. I can come up here. I like how those lines kind of fit together. Yeah, okay, so let's do that because I kind of want it to kind of give a rounded shape. I want it to have a more rounded shape there. There we go. Up a little. And it's okay. We don't have to follow the edge perfectly. We can keep layering in. And these are fairly big pieces. We can use much thinner pieces as well. So let's do, I really want to use, I just think this is such a pretty pack. It came from my charm pack. Let's just grab a little bit from this base here. I know I did it in 2 sets. Let's, I'm gonna set that down just so it doesn't move immediately on us. Let's just play. Does anyone else kind of like breaking the quilting rules? Is it just me? Because if I'm creating for like a competition or something, then it's one thing, but sometimes I just like to play and see how the pieces kind of fit together. Yeah, like that's fun. And then we'll round it out a bit. Let's take off our sticker and then we'll set it and then we'll kind of trim it up. Okay, so this is going to kind of slide. And I like that it's woodsy. It kind of keeps with the theme that we're following here. We're going to trim this up as well while we're here. Okay, got the start of our mushroom. And these pieces that these are not scrap. Like I will use these. Y'all, if I can use these little 1-inch guys, best believe I can use these for another fun project. And I may wind up making some mini mushrooms for the art gallery. So trust me, those are not going to waste. We may still wind up using them. Let's grab some of these more medium tones. I think this is a nice transition piece. Let's grab from this edge. I like that it's a little bit darker and it's moving into some of those lighter tones. I'm gonna set this here. And yeah, let's play with this corner right here. I like this corner. And again, I don't want super harsh like corners. Let's see how we're playing. I want to thin this up a little bit. We'll keep that around though. So let me know in the comments below what projects you're working on today. Are you interested in fabric collage? Do you want to see a more formal version where I'm actually showing you how to make set templates? Are you happy with, are you enjoying just kind of playing with the fabric? Because you know that I am enjoying just playing with the fabric. Okay, so you can see here, the glue is kind of shifting. Can you see that? What I'm going to do is, I'm going to wind up stitching this down anyway, so the glue doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to make sure that glue's not really sticking out because I don't want it to get all over my iron, and I don't want it to be super visible. There we go. We're going to just pin that down. And it's okay if we have little things like this because we are just going to fill them in. Let's do a bit of this corner. Again, I'm just creating soft curves. I don't want this guy to move too much here. We're going to fill in this. Oh, that's so much fun. Y'all, I'm having a good time here. Thank you for letting me play today. I know that sometimes we want super structured, formal projects, but sometimes just playing with fabric. And I've always loved fabric. Probably too much. One of the reasons why I wanted to become a fabric designer. Okay, so I like it on this left side. On this right, it's a little bit harsh, but that's okay. What we're going to do is I'm just going to trim it up a bit. And then what I'm going to do is let that lay over the top. Yep. So I would go to quilt shows with my mom, and my favorite part would be looking at all of the fabrics. I want this color to balance, so I'm actually going to use this little piece over here. I want a little more turquoise to the right. So, and I would just be in all the different patterns and fabric shapes and like the colors, and I would want to make all the projects. I would leave feeling so inspired to create, and I just love the texture. I love the prints. Okay, we're gonna lock that in here. Again, I don't love how harsh this is moving up over here, and that's okay. We're just gonna trim a little bit, and then we can tuck this under. Again, this is in part why we don't immediately iron everything down, so that we can play and tuck as we go. Okay, let's add in another flavor of green. I think we want to start getting even a little bit lighter. I can add in one more piece over here. Let's add this in one more time because I'm liking introducing a little bit of this foresty green, like this basil green. So we're gonna just, if you see me coming to the right side, it's because I've got a little pile of scraps where I'm trying to keep everything tidy. I'm a messy worker, but I kind of like trying to keep everything together. Okay, let's get it down and then we'll round it off again. Might need to grab a few more pins. No big deal. Okay, I do want something up in here. I actually don't hate that. I actually don't hate that. We're gonna leave that. I want it lining over here though. Right there. And I don't mind that it just kind of meets. Yeah, that worked out a little bit nicer than I thought it was going to actually. Okay, I do want to trim. This edge has a little bit of the glue. So we're going to trim off a little bit of the glue. Okay, good. And I don't want the glue on my ironing board, so I'm again trying to keep it to the right. Okay, let's ease in some of these colors. Now I like on this pattern, there are some natural lines here, and a lot of these do look like scales that you could find on a mushroom. I'm wondering if I should be following those lines or using them to my advantage and actually cutting perpendicular to them so it looks like extra fabric sections. And I think I'm actually going to go that route. It's just a matter of where I cut this. Okay. Oh, we're gonna use this corner. So I'm still thinking about that, but I'm gonna trim. So I want to start filling in this side. Actually, it's so thick. I want it thinner. Oh, I don't mind that. Okay. Yeah, so see how we're just layering, and I'm kind of keeping the layers almost circular so that we can keep the illusion that this mushroom is round, give it a little bit more, you know, an illusion of some dimension as we work. And I'm going to use this. Let's try it here. Nope, not gonna work. Works a little better. Works a little better. I think I might tuck it under this guy though. Is that possible? Yeah, okay. And I actually might tuck it under this one too. Okay, there we go. So sometimes when things are kind of oddly or irregularly shaped while I'm working this, I'll just tuck them under nearby shapes. I'm gonna go get some more pins in a minute here. Okay, I grabbed some more pins. I am back. Oh, is popping up. We want to make sure everything stays flat. You don't want any bubbles because we need to be able to press this flat. It should look round, but we want it to press flat. So, okay, let's keep going. I need to round this off right here. Got a pretty harsh angle there. We're gonna use these dots in this corner. Let's see if we can just kind of ease that in. Is that going to be too... I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Okay. Can score our paper. Whoop. I am so clumsy. I dropped everything. So if you hear me whooping or dropping, that's probably what's occurring. I am just dropping something. Okay, let's do... I don't want to cover up all of the work that we have here. So I'm going to hold this in place because I do like that this is now a softer edge. Got more of like an egg shape, but we're going to trim this up just a bit. Okay. And yeah, I'm okay with that actually. And I'm going to use this new pin. There we go. That's fine. I'm okay with a little bit of overlap. This doesn't need to be perfect. Let's start easing in some, I think a little bit of green would be fun. Again, this is the same pattern as this blue. These are so pretty. These are part of the Comfort and Joy collection from Create Joy Project. This was a charm pack, beautiful. I just pulled the colors that I wanted to use out of it for this particular project, but Create Joy Project, she's from Moda. She designs for Moda. Her work is just stunning. I love all of it. It's very watercolory. It's very my style. But I love all of her work. So a lot of these charms were from that charm pack, these charm squares. So if you see, if they all look like they kind of coordinate, a lot of the square charms, the bigger square charms are from her collection. Okay, let's do some green. Ooh, I like that there because then the green is a little bit more spread out. Okay, let's do a little bit over here though. You see, I'm just cutting organic soft shapes. These don't have to be anything, you know, super technical. They can have more curve, less curve. And we sometimes, like you've seen, we have to touch them up within the space anyway to kind of get them seated right, and that's okay. It's always a mystery how these are going to come out. You never really know what it's going to look like when you're playing with it this way. Okay, I actually need these to be going. We're going to turn this into 2, so I'm just going to cut in half. Don't panic. Don't panic. we're gonna be working a little bit smaller for a sec. There we go. You're gonna sit here. And then this guy, we're gonna soften him right up. And he's gonna go and he's gonna sit right in here. Yep. Okay. Okay. I want to keep kind of playing with some of these colors though. So we're gonna come back to this. And let's set it a little thinner. Even thinner. Okay. Sometimes when I'm concentrating and I'm working, I don't talk as much, friends. So if you're okay working with music, let me know. I'm probably going to put it on if I haven't already. Just because when I'm doing this, I tend to get quiet. I'm really concentrating, making sure that everything's lying right where we want. If you have questions about this process, please, I'd love to chat. Just drop them in the comments below, and I am more than happy to discuss it. You can see I tucked this piece under this little one. I'm actually going to pin that down. And sometimes if I don't want the edges of something to move too much, like I want to kind of, I will use a pin to hold them where I want them until I have it glued down. Okay, so we're going to go back to this guy again. And actually you can see on here, I want to point out that depending on the section of the pattern, there are lighter and darker parts. So like this reads a little bit darker than some of these open spaces, and these trees are much lighter. They read lighter than some of these medium tones. So keep that in mind if you're trying to build like dark to light. You can actually use different sections of these patterns depending on where you're building. And I might actually use a little bit of this guy just to change it up a little bit. Let's do that actually. I'm going to use this little corner here. Oh. Okay, well, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is my heater should be warm. And if you're working with, sorry, this is going to be a little bit loud. Okay, I have parchment paper here to protect my iron and my ironing surface. When you're working with glue products, here, I'll stop moving it. When you're working with glue products like Fusible Web, protect your iron. Use a little bit of parchment paper to get that glue to set. I'm just going to make a little sandwich. Sorry, it's a little bit loud. And then I'm just going to press it down just to get that glue to kind of stick again. Again, we're going to wind up sewing all of this down. So this is just a temporary heat situation. So I'm not overly worried. We're going to let that cool for a minute and then I'll use it again. And in the meantime, let's cut another sliver out of this. Yeah, we like that. See how light that is? And we can use it for both. So see how light this section is relative to, say, this dark blue? Yeah, so just keep in mind that you can use your fabric, if it's printed at different tones, you can use it in multiple sections of your work. At least I like to. Okay. So let's set this, yeah, right here. Oh my gosh, that blend is beautiful. We're gonna just cut that up there. That blend is really, really nice. Okay, this is cooled. You want to give it a second to cool so that it's a little bit easier to work with, and the glue has set. Peel off the back. Okay. I want to try. How fun. That kind of blends into both of those. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. However, ooh, is that the right spot? That might be the right spot. Let's tentatively put it down, trim this up. Okay, we like that. That blends really, really nicely. Oh my gosh. That's super cool. It's a little bit much over here, so we're gonna trim this again. There we go. Love that. Okay, now let's go back to, we haven't used our green in a minute. And I kind of want one of these kind of lighter sections actually. So let's, I'm gonna cut right into over here. This is starting to get a little bit too cyclic up here, so let's cut in half again. It's a little bit of a harsh curve. We like it here though. Okay, I like it here. By we, I mean me. I like it there. This I want to set in under here. And friends, we're just kind of making it up as we go. There's not a real, like, ooh. We'll make sure that it looks right. I kind of like the abundance of green there. I'm okay with that. I'm going to come back to this guy, and I'm going to use some of these trees. We want to kind of fill in a little section here. So let's just get a little guy. It's going to be a little bit round. We're gonna, it's too big. I just don't know how we want to cut it. Okay, let's just cut in half and see how we can get this to fit. Yep, that's okay. And sometimes it's okay to step back and take a minute and just breathe and look at it and decide what it needs next. I'm gonna add a little bit of this. We haven't added this in a minute. I think I'm putting more pressure on this project because I'm sharing this part of my work. I don't normally share this part of my process, so y'all are privy to. Normally, this is my, like, I am hanging out and just having fun and playing because I'm breaking rules, and who wants to admit that they break quilting rules? I mean, scary world, right? You don't want to admit that. So, and we are breaking all of the quilting rules. So, so I think I don't normally show this part of my process. So, welcome to something a little bit different. Ooh, I drop everything. I dropped all the things. Oh, actually, I like that that's kind of rounding back out a little bit. Okay, let's do, I can actually set it over here, and that does not bother me currently. Okay, we're gonna put in a dash of green in that space. Actually, let's see if I have a small piece before I cut more. Yeah, we do. See, these don't go to waste. We use them. Okay, we're gonna try to fit this, yeah, right in there. It's a little off shape, but we're gonna ease that in. Okay, that's actually a little bit better. And I'm gonna trim. This is when micro shears come in handy, friends. Actually just gonna trim this up a bit. Sometimes we don't get those cuts quite right. But for today, it looks like it's cooperating. What I do want to hide this corner here or trim it up. Let's just give it a little trim. Okay, I'm happy with that. And we need to fill in that gap right there. I think we're going to fill it in more with, I really like this color. We're going to fill it in here. Is this long enough? Okay. Just a little too wide, so. Let's fill it in with this if we can, hopefully. And if not, we'll cut a piece that's a little bit longer. It might be a little too short. Okay. Okay. Wow, I think we're actually really happy with this. Okay, beautiful. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just set my pieces to the side for a second so that I have a slightly cleaner space. There we go. And the only thing I need to check is just to make sure that this edge is pretty clean. This is one edge that's important because while I can cut everything else out, I do need to make sure that my stem is going to be sitting right where we want it. And I like the idea of like a medium toned kind of stem. We're going to be using, it's going to be sitting in this though, so I got to make sure it's dark enough. Okay, let's do a little bit darker because it really would be in shadow. This is kind of fun. So let's build out this stem and then we'll start gluing everything down. Okay. Here we go. And let's grab a few more of our darker. Yeah, this is good. See, that almost matches that curve perfectly. Let's go for it. Is that gonna look right? Okay. I am gonna trim this a little bit. I don't want there to be such a harsh outer edge. I'm gonna wind up covering some of it with embellishment, but for right now, this is where we are. We're gonna just keep easing those in. I think my iron is warning me that it's gonna turn off here because I haven't used it. There we go. Make sure it stays on for us. So we're going to use it in just a minute to get these all set into place, and then the first step will be done. Don't worry about perfect shapes if you're working on something similar like this, because especially when we're working on nature-based projects, things in nature aren't perfect. Okay. All right, we're actually pretty happy with, I don't even mind that that's a little like jagged and funky. I think it kind of gives it some character. The fact that it only has 4 legs kind of bugs me a little bit. I think we might add in, I don't know, just like a 5th something down here. Can we just do like a small offshoot? Right, yeah, that's better. Okay, let's, and then we will glue everything down. So, yep, I don't mind that actually, kind of going off to the side a little bit. Okay, beautiful friends. Okay, we're gonna clear this out. Make sure that if you've been trimming that none of your glue is still on your ironing mat, because you do not want to glue any of it down. Now, I know I said I used parchment paper, but we're gonna just very carefully go around and just glue this down. I don't, make sure none of it's exposed. Be careful with your pins that you don't melt them in there. Try not to touch them. I can see a little glue exposed there, so I'll come back with parchment paper after for that little section. I just want to get it at least the main pieces kind of locked in, and then we're going to start pulling pins in a minute here. I'm just doing a quick heat press, and then we're going to go back and we're going to do a longer heat press once everything's kind of shifted. So this is good. Okay. I can start moving these pins because these are now at least temporarily locked in place here. So I know they're not going to move on me, which is great. Okay. I need a little bit of parchment here to protect my iron. There's a little bit of glue there. You can see it just right on the edge. So anytime you see glue or think there will be glue, use the parchment paper. Protect your iron. Very important. Okay, we're going to move these little bits. You can see I'm just inching my way. Oh, Ellie is hearing things. Okay, I'm just going to be inching my way up. Is that glue? I think that glue came off on the parchment paper, so I'm doing okay. Okay. I want to get right here. I'm going to need 2 hands for this. This is going to stay here. This is going to stay here. Okay, we're going to get this section right here next. Good. Okay, let's at least glue that down. I could pull that pin. Okay, right here. See, there's a little something on the base. Oh, it's just fabric. Making sure it's not glue. I have my iron, I have an iron cleaner if I need it. If I do wind up getting a little bit of glue, it's not the end of the world. I'd just rather not transfer it all over this project. Trying to keep everything clean and tidy. I know I work messy, but I do want the final project to be neat and tidy and well constructed.
smell the cookie. Eat the
So my husband just dropped off a giant cookie. I paused the camera for a minute there because I did not know who was sneaking up on me, and it was my husband dropping off a very big cookie. So if y'all have snacks, I highly approve. Sometimes when we're working, we just need a little chocolate or cookie break. That's totally okay. I have not eaten my cookie because I don't want to get it all over, but it is in the room and I can smell it, sort of. And we're gonna lift this up. Okay. Sorry, half concentrating, half talking. So I have something to look forward to when we're done with this project. I'm going to enjoy the cookie he dropped off. Okay, nice little weekend treat. Nice weekend treat. Okay, let's glue down this section here. Just gonna keep inching my way around. And I was wondering who was sneaking up on me. I'm like, there's someone here. You could hear Ellie barking. What a good watchdog she is. But it was just my husband, so it's fine. Oh my gosh. Okay. And if like a little bit of the underside shows, don't stress. I'm going to wind up covering that up with embellishments anyway. I'm going to thread paint this and add some fun details. And we still have to add our little dots. So, which I think we're going to add via flowers. We're going to see how they look. I don't know. I'll cut a couple out and we'll look at how they look. And if we're happy with it, then we'll stick with it. And if not, we will maybe just leave it the way that it is, because I don't currently hate what we've created. So I don't feel any need to cover it up if we don't want to. It's a nice thing about these projects is you don't have to cover it up if you don't feel like it. Okay, pins are out. That's the good news. Let's give this a good press now. Make sure it's going to really stay for us. That's our mushroom, y'all. How cute is that? We could theoretically stop here, all right? But I want to experiment a little bit. I want to see how these little flowers are going to look. If they're going to look good, I will prep them for usage, but let's just see. Let's cut this out. Okay, let's cut it out big and then we'll fussy cut it. Okay. Because how much fun would it be to embroider these little flowers? I think these would be super cool to finish embellishing. Trying not to get all the lint on my... Okay, do we want to add? I don't even know if we need them. Okay, let's do one more and just see if we like it. Okay. Okay. Okay, I don't actually think I even really want them. Here's what I'm going to do. We won't do this part of the project today. Vote in the comments below. Are you pro? Do you want me to add little flower dots? Keeping in mind, they won't quite stay this color. I'm going to add these color tones into them so that they mesh a little bit better, but I would add it via probably thread painting and or embroidery and maybe some beadwork. Let me know if you want to see these dots added in the next video, and if you do, I will add them. And if not, then I'm going to leave it be. And we are going to build out the second part of the project, which for sure we're going to do. And again, we need to cut this out, but we're going to do the background. So let's cut this out so that we can see how it's going to look on our background, because that's going to help us build our background. And again, I've got my dual scissors. For this part, you could probably get away with fabric scissors, but there's a chance I'm going to like clean up and shave off some of like the edge. So let's see what we think here. And I'm just getting as close as I can. Don't cut your ironing board, but get as close as you can to the fabric. And if you cut into it a little bit, it's going to be fine. We're stitching it down afterward, so it's going to be okay. But yeah, we're cutting out right along the edge here. If there's anything funky, like see how like this corner is kind of like, you know, Just trim it right up so that everything's nice and flush. That's why we're not going to worry too much about our edges. Trim this away. This muslin was just a base for us to play on and to give us our template. Okay. I do want to trim this a little. Yeah, I think I'm happier with that. Okay. You can use much smaller scissors than what I'm using too. I'm using these like big bulky scissors, which is making this a bit more of a challenge. I'm going to cut this away. Okay, there's our mushroom. Are we happy with our mushroom? What do we think? I think it came out pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. There's a couple spots here that are coming up a little bit. I'm going to give that one more good press. Just a couple of these little edges over here. The rest, however, seems very secure. So I'm very, very pleased with how that came out. We will be adding this to our fabric base. Okay, we have our base material ready to go. I just went ahead and ripped off, I don't know, 75, 85 of the back. So these little squares also have fusible web. You can see the glue on the back. To see what that looks like, basically, again, I just scored the back and I ripped off the paper, but I didn't want to make you wait through, I don't know, 75, 85 of those. So I just quick went and did this entire pile. The reason why I have a circle sort of outlined here is because, again, our frame is going to be a circle. So I want to make sure that we are going to fill enough background to fill this space. I am not going to be cutting the circle out yet, though. I am going to be leaving some of the edges because I need to be able to like wrap it around something that's going to be set into the frame. So I'm going to need some extra edges, but we're going to go ahead and start laying out all of these little squares, and they have different fabric patterns on them. They're all kind of lighter colors in the bluey gray green sort of family. And I'm just going to lay them out kind of, not sporadically, but like, you know, going to kind of lay them out a little haphazardly, just around the edges, kind of mixed and matched a little bit. This one still has, all of them had like a little bit of the, we're going to trim that up. Where are my scissors? There we go. I don't want the little zigzaggy cuts on there. Word's not coming to me right now. Words, do we need words on a Sunday? I don't know if we really need words on a Sunday. It's going to be okay. But yeah, we're just going to lay these out. I'll bring this a little closer so you can kind of see it. But we're just going to wind up filling this space, and I want the colors to kind of be spread out. So I don't want the same fabrics, you know, on top of each other. Kind of want to mix them up a little bit if we can. Obviously, we're not going to go crazy trying to set it. And the reason why I'm using these little squares is because I had them. I've been meaning to do something with them for literally over a decade, like quite literally. I'm pretty sure I cut these all out in like college, at least, if not high school. And so now, you know, we have a project for them. We're going to actually make use out of them. And the other reason is because they're very, very light and pale. And I really like that because we don't want to detract from our much darker, brighter mushroom. So I want there to be a little bit of texture in the background without it detracting from our focal point mushroom. So that was kind of my intention as I was setting this up. Let's see, hopefully if we've got to rearrange them a little bit, we will. I might wind up putting pins in these. So far they're kind of staying in place, but we'll see how that goes. And we're just going to fill them right in. And I have extra squares here, so it's okay if they're overlapping a little bit. Want to kind of get some decent coverage. We're not filling all the way to the bottom either. I'm going to wind up putting in a couple rows, remember, for our mossy section. But we kind of want to just make sure that this part is kind of how we want it before we do that. I might regret not pinning these down. Might wind up sticking in a couple pins. I suppose we could always go over the top if we need to. Lift this up. There we go. And I kind of want to just make sure that as I'm layering down, like this side's a little bit deeper, so I'm going to fill in this side over toward the middle. Way too much glue on the edge of this guy. Like a little glue is okay because they are mostly overlapping. And I'm going to put my parchment paper down, but we don't want a ton of glue. There we go. See how these are starting to match up a little bit better? Now let's just kind of fill in our gap toward the center a bit. Okay. We're going to actually flip these. Let's go here and I'll flip it this way because it's going to look a little bit different. Okay, great. Now let's look at our mushroom for a minute and make sure that this is really popping the way that we want it to be. Yeah, that's going to look really good. I just want to make sure that, like, if we start the moss here, is that going to be weird? No, it's going to look okay. Okay, that's going to be fine. I am putting parchment down because there are little gluey bits everywhere. And actually, this probably would have been easier with a bigger iron this time around, but we're just going to take it slow. We're going to do a quick hit on most of the sections to make sure we're kind of hitting each square, and then we'll go back through and we will do a bigger hit to make sure that everything is going to actually functionally stay down. But I don't want anything moving before that, so I'm just going to do quick little taps just to get every bit down as best we can. Let's add this guy here. There we go. Okay. Again, parchment back down. Okay, let's see if anything's going to peel up. Okay, and because I know that this piece of parchment has glue on it, I'm probably not going to use it again, although this looks pretty good. I got a little spot here. I'll use it. This corner is clear of glue, I know. I just want to get this all kind of down. And I didn't perfectly glue these down. We're going to wind up, it's going to be fine though. We're going to wind up stitching right through that. So again, if you didn't catch that because of the loud parchment paper, if these corners are coming up a little bit, I'm not horribly worried about it because we are going to be, I'm going to be sewing it all down. So this is just temporary. This glue job is temporary. There's another piece. This is a different piece of parchment paper. Always good to have parchment paper ready to go. So you just, these are so many tiny pieces, I just don't want them falling apart. So this is sort of like even though I'm using a permanent web because that's what I have, I'm using it as a temporary hold because I'm going to wind up sewing all of these down. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to build our mossy base. So I'm going to move this up a little bit so you can see. This is our mossy base. So it's going to be pretty simple. On the other one, I kind of built light to dark. So if we've got a couple shades here, let's take a peek. It's probably a little darker. This one I would say is closer to this one. This guy. Ooh, they're kind of both. I don't know. Do we even like this one in here? Do we like that green? I kind of think it's distracting. I think we're going to leave it out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut really soft curves out of this. And for this one, I'm really just going to get rid of that top edge. I'm not worried about the bottom edge. It's not going to show. So we're going to just do really soft curves. This does not have fusible web on it. Could it? Yes, but they're such big pieces. I'm going to wind up sewing them down anyway. So I'm going to wind up just safety pinning them in place until I can run them through my sewing machine. Okay, so soft curves, think like mossy ground, and I want to come up high enough that we're going to cover up most of that muslin. And it doesn't have to be really square, you can kind of angle it. Okay, next color, we're going to kind of fit this one in. Again, soft curve on the top edge. Ooh. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to wind up embellishing it anyway. This was kind of a harsh cut right here, so let me soften it just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of fun, playful. And you can shift if the valleys are kind of in the same spot. You can move it down. The only thing you want to just make sure is you're covering your circle edge and that we got a little bit extra on the sides. I might move it like, no, I'm happy here. Okay. Gonna do it again with this one. And this might even, I don't even know if I need it. Do we need it? I'll just do 3. Do we like 3? We like 3. Okay, let's do 3. Soft curve on the top edge. Gentle sloping lines. Beautiful. Okay, and yeah, we're just gonna make sure that the bottom of our circle is covered. Great. And the last thing we want to check is just to make sure that our mushroom is going to look good in the space. And it does. That's amazing. I think that looks really good. Bring that a little bit closer so you can see it. Yeah, so this is our mushroom for now, friends. Next week, we are going to be working on our daily temperature embroidery project. I'm going to be filling in all of January's temperatures and working on some of the floral on the side for January's portion. It's going to be super fun, but I'm going to be embellishing our mushroom soon. Oh gosh, it just came out so much fun. So if you want to see how to embellish our mushroom and how I'm going to work through this project to make it all come together, be sure to stay tuned, subscribe, and follow along so that you can get all the updates. I'll see you next time, friends.